Alright, today I'm gonna be talking about 28 years later. So 28 years later is the third film in the Layton franchise. You know, it starts all with 28 days later and then 28 weeks later, and then now we are here with 28 years later. If you saw the trailers, you've probably guessed it that this film it's gonna be the same as the trailers. And the truth is, the trailers only cover around like the first 40 minutes of the movie. You know, this journey of father and son trying to go to the mainland for the son to prove himself and hunt some zombies. That plot only covers the first 40 minutes of the movie. And once you get past the 40 minutes, the movie changes drastically and the second plot rolls in. What is the second plot? Well, the second plot is about this kid returning home, and then he finds this weird doctor that can cure his mom, and so he brings his mom back to the mainland to meet that doctor. And these two plots, I feel like these two plots combine together to create an interesting narrative. How about the zombies in this film? Well, the zombies are threatening. They are very brutal, and the film doesn't shy away from the brutality. They show us everything here. Alright? Maybe they didn't even need to show us some things. Like, for instance, there is a scene of a zombie giving birth, and while I was watching the movie, I feel like, why would they show this to us? But there it is. So some of these scenes may come out of place from this film, you know. These scenes, I think, like, there's a couple of scenes, like the zombie giving birth scene, and then in some sequences, the whole screen turns red for a brief moment. And I feel like these scenes add up to nothing, right? They are maybe artistic, you know. They are made to make the movie more stylish, alright? But when I was watching this film, I didn't feel that way. I feel like these scenes come out of place, that these scenes don't belong in the movie. Now, that being said, the zombies itself, the chase scenes, the action scenes involving arrows, they're pretty exciting to watch, you know, particularly with the headshots of the arrows, where when the headshot approaches from to the zombie, the camera turns around and it shows you the impact of that headshot, and it is very satisfying and exciting to watch. Okay, so the action scenes work, but some of the stylistic choices I don't agree with. For instance, there is a scene, some of the scenes look good, like the scene at the beginning of the movie where they show that this father and son from the big alpha zombie. That is a very threatening, chilling chase scene, alright? But some of the other times, the camera moves a lot. By a lot, I mean really. Moves all the time, and you as an audience may feel dizzy and you don't really know what you are seeing because the camera moves too fast. They're trying to show us how intense the scene is, but in my mind, to show us how intense the scene is doesn't really necessarily need to be moving this camera all around. And I feel like, yes, that is the selling point, that is the iconic presentation that the 28 years later, 28 days later are known for. But for this film, the camera movement is out of hand, because when you're watching this film, you are a little bit dizzy, and you're trying to figure out what you are actually seeing because the camera moves too fast. The other thing that blows my mind is that the fact that this film is shot on an iPhone. And I thought to myself, well, Would it look cheap? After seeing the final product, I don't feel that way because the movie looks like a high-budgeted movie. Yes, it was shot on an iPhone, but it doesn't look cheap. It feels like that is the natural progression that this franchise is trying to go through, and it did. It really resulted to a really good product. Now, let's talk about the character development. The dynamic between the father and the son really works very well, and you really care about this, the relationship between those two characters. But that is a different case with the relationship between the son and the mother. For some reason, they're trying to ground the emotional stakes down, but I really did not feel the personal stakes between these two, because yes, they've made it very apparent that they're at stake here, but sometimes you do not feel that stake. And when the mother dies, you don't feel nothing. I don't know why exactly, but that's what I felt. Maybe some other audience would feel differently. That's fine. That's my feeling. I don't know why. So, to put it in summary, 28 years later has a really solid plot. You know, these two plot points intertwined, combined together to be a really good, solid plot. But here's the thing. This film tries to do a lot of things. That may come out of place for a movie like this. Because if you think about it, this film should be simple. It is about zombies, right? A journey from point A to point B to point C. But in between that, there are very out of place scenes that I feel don't belong in the movie. So with all that being said, I will give 28 years later a 6 out of 10. This is a pretty solid zombie movie with, you know, in the production side of things. But I feel like this film could have been so much more. Yes, it is very intense, but there are a lot of things that the movie tries to do. Like the director tries to throw everything at you, and a lot of it doesn't stick at all, and it doesn't make a really good picture, a really good painting. So 6 out of 10. If you have seen 28 years later, tell me everything you like, everything you don't like in this film, and how does it compare to the previous predecessors. Everything down below, drop it in the comment section down below, and see you on the next video.